Morgan Poole, and welcome to WDSU-TV. The great Oprah Winfrey once said, "To move forward, you have to give back." And what better way to do so than having alumni return back to campus to give students words of wisdom and encouragement to help them realize their goals and aspirations. Today, I have alumnus Kevin M. Scott, and he's here to talk about his previous journey as a fellow Hornet, how he's been able to become successful within the technology industry, and how anyone can do the same. Hi, Kevin. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No problem. It's an honor to have you here today.
My pleasure. Glad to be here. Glad to be back at Studio B.
Yes, most definitely. So you were once a Hornet here at DSU.
Correct.
And you graduated in 94?
1994.
Correct? Wow. So talk about your previous journey here and how you were able to find your way into the tech industry.
Oh, wow. Well, it wasn't quite like the, I guess the way one would suspect.
Right.
Of course, I was a mass comm and journalism major, so at one point in time, I wanted to be Stuart Scott, before Stuart Scott. So I wanted to work for ESPN, I wanted to work for Sports Illustrated, wanted to be a photographer and all that good stuff,
Right.
Just quite honestly, it didn't work out that way.
Wow, how so?
It's a different kind of world once you get out there after you graduate. So I just put it like that. So you had to do a lot of jobs to equate to one, and I found that out quite quickly. So I did a lot of odd jobs. I worked for a magazine. I wrote for a magazine, and I worked for a small television station in Baltimore, Maryland. I worked for the Delaware State News, which looks like a magazine now, but at one point, Delaware State News, so I worked in the sports department. So of course, I just kind of added all those things up and tried a little entrepreneurial business in South Jersey as well, trying to do all those things at once. And I had a child, at an early age, so, bills needed to get paid as well. So I think at that point, as a young man and as a young parent, decided to kind of get into the real workforce.
Wow.
And at that point, I kind of took the journey somewhere else. But as a graduate, the opportunities were a lot faster because, of course, you had that piece of paper. So I got involved in like the call center industry and things like that. Quickly evolved into management. There was an opportunity when I was working in Wilmington, Delaware, that I received a prestigious award, and from there, I was able to transfer to Phoenix, Arizona.
Wow.
Never been to Phoenix, so it's one of those things where like, hey, let's give it a shot.
Wow.
The beauty of it, I think this is probably the first time I'm actually saying this out loud or so someone who can hear this. But I was there probably less than 6 months and got fired.
Wow.
Got fired. I think that was my first experience really of getting that kind of turmoil and things like that, and having a heartache real quick, in the corporate world. And here I am in Phoenix, Arizona, all by myself, just relocated, as I call it, a transcontinental move. And here I am by myself in Arizona, and I recall the conversation I had with my mother. And I'm like, I just got let go. With some craziness going on. I got caught up in the middle, and my mother was like, well, God doesn't make any mistakes, and he brings all his children to the desert. Right. So you figure it out, and you can't come back.
Yes.
And that's what I had to do. I had to figure it out. And, so I did find another job, still in the management world. And then lo and behold, I think it was around 2000 or 2001, matter of fact, it was after 9/11, so it was right around 2001 that I was in church, and someone who was a producer for a movie asked me if I could get into film. And so one of their actors just took a major role in South Africa, and he said I fit the bill and looked just like the guy and everything like that. So I did the Hollywood thing, believe it or not, for about 5 years. So I broke away from the corporate world and started doing like commercials. Did a Gatorade commercial, did a McDonald's commercial, did a Burger King commercial, did several commercials. I just put it like that. And after a while, I realized I didn't want to do that anymore either. I didn't want to be a dude on the couch, that struggling artist and things like that. So I got back into the corporate world and worked for a health firm and they needed someone that was in management and that could manage vendors. So that's how I kind of migrated to vendor management. And while I was working there, I've been married for 11 years now. So my wife and I had our third son around that time. And so I was looking for another opportunity. And right around that time, Google called me.
Wow. So you are the vendor site leader.
Yes.
On Google's consumer operations team,
yes.
which is huge. That's like awesome. So talk about some of your day-to-day responsibilities. What does a day in your shoes look like?
Oh boy, let's see. It varies from day to day because in so many aspects, there's a different fire based on the product. So I manage 5 sites, and among those 5 sites, there are approximately 11 different products. So, you know, you have your hardware, your Pixel phones, you have GPay, you have 5 phones. So depending on what's the hot topic, like right now I'm in the middle of a launch of a new product at my Vegas site. So a lot of the energy and focus is really going towards, you know, making sure contracts are signed, make sure everything's approved, making sure people are compliant with the requirements.
Right.
I'm kind of like the middleman, so I make sure all the people, all my stakeholders at Google are happy, but then I also have to hold the vendors accountable. So, and keep them happy as well, because there are times where they may not be getting what they need from maybe support experts or support managers on the Google side, and so they'll come to me. And then on the flip side, if the support managers and product managers aren't getting what they need from my vendor partners, they come to me and I kind of whip them in shape too.
Right.
So it definitely varies from day to day on what's required.
Awesome. So obviously you're in the world of technology.
Yes.
So in your opinion, where do you think technology is headed today?
Oh boy. So I had the pleasure of speaking with the early college high school students down the street. And one of the questions, it was very similar to that. And I'm not sharing any secrets or anything like that no one knows, but Google acquired HTC recently. HTC engineers were also acquired. So the 2,000 or so engineers that were hired are actually working on a project that's down the line. Not quite sure what they're working on, but it's maybe a phone that's for 2020 and 2021.
Wow.
So technology is always moving and ever changing. What I also believe is that, you know, based on the ecosystems that we're in, you know, you could come up with a great idea, you know, if you're a Googler, and submit it, and it may be something that, you know, we've never imagined and thought about. Think about the driverless cars. That was someone's idea. So, so some of those things are literally just waiting to be birthed and evolved before, you know, we even know.
Wow.
So it's a great place to be. It's a great place to be in. It's a great time to be in.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Because of the fact that here we are at 2018, and you know, we're already working on something 2 years, 3 years down the line.
So with that being said, it's a great time to be in technology.
Sure.
How can students kind of break into the technology industry? And even though you're a mass communications major with a degree in journalism, how were you able to do so?
Well, Google hires people. They don't hire positions. You know, so that's kind of like my walking mantra, you know, when I do share that with people. You know, so if you have the personality and if you fit the mold, so to speak, you know, it's a thing where if it's something that they need, require, and desire, and you fit that, you know, then, you know, go for it. I once again, I didn't think that I would ever be involved in probably one of the top tech companies in the world.
That's awesome.
Coming from good old Delaware State, you know.
Right.
But it is a matter of, I won't say right place, right time. It's just really pursuing the opportunities that are present.
Right.
But for students,
are there any specific skills that, you know?
well, I mean, we have a technical side and we have a non-technical side. So obviously the role that I pursued is on the non-tech side. I mean, I'm involved with engineers and people who are on the technical side, but I am considered a non-tech Googler.
Okay.
I.e., I don't know anything about computer science. I don't know anything about coding or anything. You know, I can tell you a little bit about it, but I'm not a coder, engineer, or anything to that nature. You know, so anything that evolves around, you know, your typical HR, training, quality, you know, anything that you're not necessarily tinkering and coding and things like that, you know, it's available. And then on the technical side, you know, if you're an engineer, computer science, IT, those things are open and available to people as well. The biggest success story that I've heard since I've been there in 3 years is that there was a person who was a music and art teacher in the Bay Area.
Wow.
And she just had a craft or a niche for doing things on the computer. So she would do a lot of her artwork and teach the students on how to do that. And someone was like, man, you should work for a tech company, you know, and one of those things where she just happened to, you know, look up Google jobs in that area, and she is now one of the Google doodlers. So, you know, when you go to the Google and you see all the pictures and things like that. So I mean, that's what I mean by the limitless opportunities, you know, within a large company like that. So it's not just, you know, I'm some tech guy from MIT or CIT or, you know, NJIT. You know, you can be from DSU.
Right. It just goes to show you.
Absolutely.
That's very inspiring and encouraging.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of different students can look at this and say, wow, if he did it, I can do it too.
Yes,
Because that's what I'm saying right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I look at it where, you know, don't think that the things that transpire in your life are roadblocks or stumbling blocks. Look at those as stepping stones.
Right.
You know, because, you know, I look back, you know, back in, you know, when I was in Arizona, you know, for that first job and got fired. I mean, you know, I could have thrown in the towel, you know, but it's one of those things where, you know, you just keep going. So you never know, primarily, you know, what those things are doing for your internal self and your character.
Right.
You know, so you kind of roll with the punches and make it happen.
Make it happen. Yeah, and I think that, you know, as young college students, as we matriculate, that we may get discouraged, you know, because there's going to be some, you know, failures that we endure, some challenges, but it is important to overcome it. So do you have any more words of encouragement for students that may be going through something right now, or for even our graduating seniors that maybe are looking for an opportunity and haven't quite gotten it yet?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just, you know, don't let this, whatever circumstance, you know, you have, you know, stop you. As I mentioned, you know, as I was still a student, you know, when I had my first child, you know, so here I am, a young dad, you know, trying to make things happen. I'm also, was in the reserves. I was in the military. So at the time when I was in school, there was a war going on. So I got called away from school and participated in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. So some of those things, you know, kind of created the character and you know, and made me, you know, built me to be the person that I am.
Right,
you know, because, you know, I had to multitask and things like that. So there might be, you know, a student out there that may be the oldest sibling that's stepping in place as, you know, the mother or the, you know, of a parent, you know, and taking care of their other siblings, or, you know, might be a student out there who might be a young parent. You know, don't let those things be your crutch.
Right.
You know, so just embrace those things, and by all means, you know, when it comes to relationships, don't let anyone interrupt your path and your journey. You know, because I think you know, when we get in college, I think the first thing someone thinks is, I'm gonna find my husband.
That's true.
I'm gonna find my husband. Well, you know what? Your husband may be going the wrong direction than you want to go. You know, or your wife. You know, so, you know, don't let anything or anyone, you know, interrupt your, you know, your quest, you know, that you're on. You know, and sometimes you may have to tell that brother or that sister, like, hey, this is what I'm about.
Right.
And if you want to tag along, cool. You know, but I'm gonna be over here.
Right. Words of wisdom, you guys. We love it.
Yes.
So what's next for you, if anything?
Oh my goodness. So I don't know if we discussed it, but I'm part of the global leadership team for the Black Googlers Network. It's an employee resource group. So one of the things that I'm planning now is, you know, because of my love for the craft, you know, of journalism, mass comm. I'm actually creating a television show.
Wow.
For Googlers.
Wow.
And it's called Chat and Chew in the Bay. And so what we're doing really is just coming up with not necessarily anything that you currently see on TV, but it's like we're doing right now. You and I are just having a conversation. We may have an audience. We may feature someone who is a caterer. Like one of the people that we're going to showcase is starting a vegan soul food menu.
Wow.
So she is coming up with, you know, your barbecue tofu chicken type thing and or barbecue ribs.
That sounds pretty good.
And, you know, and so she's creating a complete, total vegan diet, but with some soul food flavor to it.
Wow.
So we're going to feature her, and it's really one of those things where we're going to reach out to a lot of communities of color, very similar to, you know, the reason why I'm here. You know, so there are a lot of people out there that don't necessarily know that Delaware State exists, and there are like Google, you know, or your Apples or your Microsofts, you know, because they only target, you know, specific universities. So what we're trying to do now is just make sure that we can cast a larger net, you know, to underrepresented colleges, communities, and just make sure that their voices are heard. Because one of Google's vision is to reach 1 billion users every year.
Right.
And the only way they're going to do that is if they create opportunities for people who have fresh new ideas.
Exactly.
So working on that, as well as the, you know, just trying to be the best Googler I can be.
Right. Well, you're doing pretty good. I can tell you that. So how can we keep in touch with you? If students may have any questions, want to know about any possible opportunities at Google, how can we?
Well, I think the first place they can go is careers.google.com/students.
Okay.
So that's probably the best place to go when they try to figure out, you know, where they want to go as far as their journey with Google. There are internship opportunities there. There are regular job opportunities there. And it is established, the way the site is set up is from a technical side and a non-technical side. And then you'll see some videos of people who, you know, kind of talk about their day in their life there. There's some other breakdowns on how to prepare a resume and how to prepare yourself for an interview. The interview process is hell.
Really?
I'm here to tell you. You know, you'll walk out of there 20 pounds lighter because it's just it's a doozy.
Wow.
So someone may not like me saying that, but you know, you have to figure 2 million people apply to Google every year.
That's true.
So they want to, you know, they vet out and get the best of the best.
But hey, if the opportunity presents itself, why not take it,
go
right?
For it.
You did it.
I did it.
You can do it, right?
I did it.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for stopping in today.
Pleasure.
Really, really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Once again, I'm Morgan Poole with WDSU-TV. See you next time.